Hi, this is Ned Siegfried from Siegfried and Jensen. As proud sponsors of BeliefCast, we hope you are inspired by Todd's weekly podcasts, which contain so many courageous stories of recovery and personal growth. Remember, it's not what happened in the past that matters, it's what happens in the future. We invite you all to work hard and be optimistic about your future. Enjoy today's podcast.
Welcome back, everybody. This is Todd Sylvester with the Todd Sylvester's Inspires Belief Cast. Thank you for joining us once again. I can't thank you enough for believing in me and listening week after week and sharing this with so many people. We're trending, and it's not because of me, it's because of all of you. So I thank you so much. I'd like to thank our sponsors, Siegfried and Jensen, Wasatch Recovery, and Veracity Networks. You guys are amazing. Thank you for believing in me. And then I also like to thank all my previous guests. It's because of our amazing guests who come on here and they're vulnerable and they share their stories. People just can relate with them. And it's just such an amazing thing. I pinch myself going, I can't believe I get to do this. And today's no different. Today we are joined by the author of Productive Intuition, Connecting to the Subtle, AdaPia Errico. AdaPia, thank you for joining us.
Oh, Todd, thanks so much for having me. I'm honored.
Oh, man, I'll tell you, I'm so excited to have you on today. AdaPia has a 20-year global career. She's a founder, entrepreneur, advisor, mentor, obviously an author as well. She has a vulnerable video that went viral, right? Like, I think it's over 40 million views at this point.
Yeah, over 250,000 shares last time I checked, which was, I think, sometime last year.
That is amazing. Yeah. And again, it just speaks to your passion and drive to help other people. You've also gone through your own challenges at times. You know, you've gone through some really hard times, and we're going to talk about that in a minute, but you're doing all these things. You're a leader. And what I love most about you and the stuff that I've researched on you is just your passion, again, to help other people and to give of yourself. So thank you for spending some time and giving yourself to us today.
Yeah, I appreciate it. And I'm so excited for you and this platform, because if it weren't for platforms like yours, like I wouldn't be able to really share my story in such a, in a different way than what that viral video was. Like, this is, this is a safe space like that. Thank you. So thank you for creating safe spaces for people to share their stories.
Yeah, you're welcome. Well, again, I'm so excited to have you on. And I was just mentioning how much I love your name. It's such a pretty name. It's beautiful. Well, hey, why don't we start with, tell us where you grew up and a little bit about your family and your childhood.
Sure. Yeah. And, we can start with my name. So,
okay.
I'm Italian. Yeah, I'm Italian. So my parents, they immigrated to Canada. So I was born in Canada. I currently live in Los Angeles, but they immigrated to Canada like a year or so before I was born.
Okay.
So, I grew up an immigrant. I grew up speaking Italian. That's my first language.
Okay.
And so I would say, like, from a very young age, like, my existence, my understanding of the world was very split. My dad would say, like, very strict upbringing, like, when you're in my house or this house, like, you're Italian, and, and then outside I'm like trying to make friends with like Canadians, and, it's like getting made fun of because I would have Nutella sandwiches.
Right.
I'm like, what's wrong with eating chocolate for lunch, you guys? Like, but it is like childhood. Like, I was bullied. It just wasn't like super, super pleasant, and always like trying to like want friends and trying to be like the other kids, but I was never like the other kids, and so it's like very pulled from a very, young age. And I think that, we can talk about that. One of like the biggest struggles of identity of like wanting to like honor myself, and yet knowing for whatever reason that wasn't being accepted by other people.
Right.
But, I grew up in Canada. When I was 21, I moved to Europe. I moved for a university exchange program, and I ended up meeting my first husband, and I got married. I moved to Italy when I was 22. And, that's part of that story that I tell in that vulnerable video about how, whatever reasons, we all do things for the wrong reasons in hindsight. But, that marriage ended up being like really like a psycho-emotional trap for me.
Wow.
Living in Italy for 9 years, living in this culture. I thought I was Italian because
Yeah,
I grew
right.
up Italian, right? I'm like, no, actually you're not. So I actually really struggled with the culture, like really a lot, so much struggle. And also a lot of pressure to have kids, and I didn't want to have kids. And that was like really clear from day one. And yet that
Yeah.
was constantly there. And my body shut down. I stopped having my period when I was 24. Like my body just knew what was going on. And so I
Yeah.
stayed. And anyway, that was my first awakening was in 2011 when, I just got hit with like, I can't live like this anymore. And that ended
Right.
up being the dissolution of that marriage. And
Mm.
and then I moved back to Canada for a year. Ended up in LA, met my soulmate.
Oh, good.
So there's so much about life. And you mentioned the challenges that I've been through. And yes, yet underneath it
Mm-hmm.
is always been, I think, a sense of optimism. Like, I'm going to make it through. And sometimes by like the sheer force of will, and other times by like riding the grace of God
Yeah,
to make it through,
for sure.
and so, yeah, so lots of unexpected twists and turns in my life. And they bring me to this point where I'm compelled to share. Like, it's not like I wake up in the morning and think like I want to tell all my vulnerable like insides out and
Right.
and just like be exposed to so many people, is what
Yeah.
happened with the video. And yet it's something so much bigger than me that knows that when I share my story, like when you share your story,
Yeah.
I heal by sharing it, and you
Yeah.
heal by hearing it.
Wow.
And I really believe that shame and silence are the co-conspirators of suffering, and they
Right.
work in tandem, like they work together. And one of the biggest experiences for me when that video went viral was the people that said, I don't feel alone anymore. I thought I was
Mm.
the only one. I had
Yeah.
so much shame. And truly, there's nothing to be ashamed of.
Yeah. I love what you said there, how sharing is healing. Basically,
Mhm.
you hear it, you're healed, sharing your own story. I heard this once that if you don't own your story, it owns you.
Oh, yeah.
And here you are, you're owning your story, and you're putting yourself out there. Again, the video is a vulnerable video, but you're just being vulnerable, right? That's what
Mhm.
sharing is it's a vulnerability, right?
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
mentioned as a child at some time you were bullied. How did you handle that? And was that a tough time in your life? I mean, obviously it was in the moments for sure.
Yeah. I mean, I was even bullied by my teacher,
Really?
actually. Yeah.
That's even worse,
Yeah. And it was a repressed memory. It only came back a few years ago when I started to do my
Okay.
my inner work. But basically, like,
Mhm.
it's like grade 4 teacher. And essentially, like, she told me I was stupid.
Oh, wow.
And that just, I mean, for somebody, and I was also like very much driven to succeed, and to like, I was a good student. I'm like a
Yeah.
smart, like good at school. I was one of those people that was really good at school and wanted to excel, and I loved to learn. And so that drove a stake. If I let myself, I can still feel it in my heart and in my stomach, right? Because that's like a painful thing to tell,
For sure.
at such a young age, right? We don't realize, like, we're sponges. We're literally in a hypnotic
Right.
state up until the age of around 7. Like, our brains are literally in
Yeah.
theta, like they are like we're in
Yeah.
hypnosis. So we absorb so much. And that really like sliced any sense of like self-worth, I think. And it was one of the things that I really struggled with, was this like, should I speak up? Because what
Yeah.
it happened when I spoke up about something and I gave the wrong answer.
Right.
And
Wow.
then she kind of like, she made fun of me, and like everybody in class laughed, and it just like it just
Oh,
crushed me.
man.
And then there's the kids that are making fun of me because I was always kind of like a chunky girl. Like, I'm an
Yeah.
Italian girl, like I got fed.
Right. You
you know
you didn't go without eating, right?
No, I got fed, and I finished my food, and I love food, and I still am like a fat kid at heart, and I love food. Um, but like that, and my name, like today, um, my name is like the best thing in the world because you can just Google me and I come up, right? It's like, I'm the only one, but
yeah, it's a unique, very unique name.
yeah.
And you know, it's interesting. I guarantee you those kids that teased you about your name would now look back and go, man, that's such a beautiful name. What was I thinking? Right.
Right. Yeah. But they don't, and that's okay.
Yeah.
Cause kids are unfiltered for better or worse, right?
Yeah.
They're just completely unfiltered. And but it was hard. Like when I started to really excavate and do all this personal work that's really helped me become so much more open,
Yeah.
and part of a process of a big awakening is that all these repressed memories started to come up, and I started to realize, like, gosh, like there's so much that I bottled and
Yeah.
I kept it in, and that was still there, and it was affecting me as an adult.
Mm,
And it wasn't until I started to go in there and look at those things that I was able to basically detach from, you can call it negative beliefs and negative limitations and stories and narratives, and
yeah.
all this like stuff is like flying out of me, sometimes at a really like overwhelming pace. But on the whole, it just requires so much self-love and compassion, and then, also compassion for those that we think have wronged us.
Yeah. So I love what you're saying because it sounds like you've just done a lot of work
Mm.
looking inside of yourself and figuring things out. And the reason why I bring this up is it's like you probably, I would guess that you probably would never change any of that because it's allowed you to be who you are at this moment, right?
Absolutely.
And
Yeah.
yeah. So, you know, as you were doing this and as you got a little older, did you find yourself still struggling with the thought or maybe the belief that you weren't smart or because of what that teacher had said?
Oh yeah. I mean, that was the key. That was
Yeah.
like a key moment. And it wasn't until I identified it and actually released it
Yeah.
that I was able to really let it go and not have it affect me, because it was affecting me unconsciously.
Yeah.
And it evolved over time. Like if I try to make a, like, I'm not going to call it like a linear line around it, but that sense of like, make sure that you don't speak up unless you're absolutely sure,
Right.
right? Which is already something that girls in general struggle with, that women
Sure.
struggle
Yeah.
with, right? Like,
Yeah. For
there's so
sure.
much research around this kind of stuff, but like, just needing to feel like I had to have all the answers, and that I couldn't be wrong. And so what that does when you're in a position where you don't think you're allowed to be wrong is that you're not going to always tell the truth about things either. You're
Yeah.
not going to try for things. You're like, there's sort of like this like slyness that, and it doesn't
Yeah.
feel good to feel like, well, then do I really deserve this? And like, well, that person certainly seems to have the answer because they say it with confidence. And so
Right.
I think there was
Yeah.
always a bit of like an underlying like lack of confidence, actually, that I masked in other ways, but deep down, like I never felt that confident in
Right.
myself.
Well, you know, and you mentioned earlier where, you know, you moved to Italy and things just weren't connecting for you. You were struggling, and
Yeah.
then you ended up leaving that first marriage, went to
Mhm.
Canada, and then into LA, if I'm getting that correct.
Yep.
And then you found the love of your life.
Yeah.
Before you found the love of your life, did you feel like you had started kind of changing some of these beliefs about you and seeing yourself in a different light and who you really were?
Yeah. So, I'll say this, like when I had that moment, and if anybody watches the video or has watched it, and the way I tell it is like I really had this moment. It was like I got hit by lightning. It was the worst feeling like
Hmm.
leading up to it. And I realized
Yeah.
like I can't be in this life. What I haven't told on stage in that story is that, the next day I had the conversation with my husband, which really was around, I cannot have children. I do not want to have children. And
Yeah.
there was a part of me that knew that that was a deal breaker in a way. Like I knew
Yeah.
it would be either or, right?
Yeah.
Like you either
Right.
going to work through it, like, but somebody has to say this elephant in the room, right? And so when I said that, and he said, well, this is a deal breaker. So it was in a way like it was a joint decision, but it really was,
Yeah.
I released us, and I was the one that had to say the hard thing that we were both feeling and understanding. And so that was a really tough, moment to stand in that kind of truth, and to know that, this could be the end of a 9-year life that I've had here. And there were still great things in my life, but, and so that led me, and I was 32 at the time. And I'll put it this way. I was 32, and when I left, I didn't know who I was, because I had spent my whole life, and especially in those years, trying to make sure nobody knew how much I was suffering. I was like trying to be like kind of Italian and yet not really, and like trying to find a career in a country that was not conducive. It's not built for women to have careers, and didn't want to tell my dad. And like, God, there was it's so much that we hold over our own heads. And so that was the beginning of me learning who I really was and what I actually really wanted. And so I spent, because it was about a year or so until before I met Andrew, my husband now, and like figuring out who am I, and finding some joy. And that's when I actually first started meditating, and I started doing yoga. And I know it sounds really cliche, but that was exactly what I needed to start to listen to really my intuition that I had just suppressed for so many years.
Yeah. And this is what you're so amazing at and good at, is this intuition piece. I think, like you said, meditation, yoga, it's like, sounds cliche. Like, I started doing meditation, changed my life forever. Right. But it really is a amazing thing that if we will sit in the silence for a minute and slow everything down, right, is when we can finally go, okay, I'm not letting my mind rule my life right now. It's that inner peace, that inner intuition, as you would say. So will you explain that to our listeners? Like, because this is so important to you, and I know you love this. Talk about that. And then obviously talk about your book, Productive Intuition, and what this is all about.
Sure. So, when the intuition piece is really important, and it's one piece of what I consider to be a reclamation to like reclaim all of ourselves.
Love that.
Where I've arrived in my understanding. So I had a second awakening in 2017, which was my really big one, which is when I went through a dark night, which is when like just was like the one where I really had to go inside and do all the work, which eventually led to the book. Because what it came down to for me was I haven't been honoring myself. I was a magical child, and we all are, right? We all are. And at some point, maybe around the age of 10, which I've heard is like a normal age for girls to kind of make a decision, maybe consciously and mostly unconsciously, around, I'm going to conform. And to me, I call it putting on the cloak of normalcy so that I would succeed. I would succeed in life, and I was driven. I was going to have a career. I mean, I started working in a bank when I was 18, and I'm like, my career was my way of asserting independence. And, and yet there were so many times in my life, and that first marriage being one of them, where my heart, one big piece of my intuition, was saying no. And I just rationalized it away. There's all the reasons that was not okay for me to not follow it. And then all of these times in my life where like really like challenging things happen. Like I've lost my life savings to fraud. And when that happened, I knew it. But I rationalized that one away too. Like I found all the reasons why, because our mind, our ego, it just functions in a certain way. And we all have so much intuition. It's just that we don't know how to use it. And so when I started doing my personal work and really understanding it, what I understood fundamentally was that I've always been supported and held, and I've always been receiving messages. And I don't mean from like God or a divine source, but actually just my intuition. That all the times everything went massively wrong was the times when I actually could say I knew it. And I was so tired of saying I knew it. I'm like, stop. Like this,
Yeah.
I can make
Yeah.
this stop. And then, and so I started there with like, and this is my process. I don't know about other people. My process was like to go find all the things I did wrong.
Uh-huh.
Right. I went there first,
Okay.
but then as I was doing that, I really started working with a lot of compassion. And then what I saw was, but AdaPia, but there were so many times in your life you did follow your intuition. And
Right.
oh,
Okay.
wait a second. All those times were amazing. And so hold on. So I must have intuition, but why it's happening by accident. And so really for me, like the book is kind of a way of describing when I woke up, how I integrated intuition into my life, because I'm still a professional. I work in private equity. I invest in real estate. Like I didn't go become a monk, and I didn't abdicate the world. Like I am here and I show up every day, but I'm integrated. I'm integrated. Like I use my intuition and I understand how it works. And it's been one of the most empowering processes of my life to say, how does it work in me? Not just accidentally.
Yeah.
And that actually opened, whether you want to call it, like divine connection, that too, but also just a knowing of who I am and what I call inner authority. And so I started to be able to move from external to internal validation.
Yeah.
And that's it. And now I just live from that place. And the more I live from that place, the more I open. And the more I open, the more sure I am.
Yeah.
And you use this a lot too with your work, is the power of choice.
Yes. And I was getting to that because when I was doing my research on you, you gave a beautiful talk on that. And I was like, oh, she is speaking my language here. But before we get to that, you mentioned something that was just hit me so hard. You talked about you started finding internal validation. Because I think this is where a lot of us, and I'm guilty of it too, where we get tripped up thinking all this external stuff is what's going to make me happy and fulfilled, when we realize, like when you lose everything, right, you're going, okay, well, now what?
Yeah.
Who am I now? And so I can relate with that. Talk about how do we find that internal validation? What does that look like? And I know you were getting there, and it was beautiful, but can you elaborate on that a little bit more?
Yeah, I'll try. I'll say it this way to sort of preface it all. It's a lifetime practice, because I'll put it this way. I'm babysitting my ego all the time. And sometimes it gets out from under me, it like runs away, it gets out, it slips out of the gate, just like my dog will like jump the gate sometimes. And just, you got like, sorry, that was my ego. And you have to bring some levity to it.
Yeah.
Because, life it can be really serious, and we can be so hard on ourselves.
Yeah.
And so I've really learned to bring levity into it, and to kind of interact with different parts of myself in a way where they're more manageable. And I think that's a really big part of it. And this comes from, I'm a very serious person. Like I take myself really seriously, and I have to, like, I've started to get over that, because it's not that serious. We just take ourselves seriously, right? So that said, it's a constant. I mean, we're born into a conditioned world,
right?
Like we're born into a certain family, we're born into a certain culture, we're born with we're born pure and all knowing, in a way. And then as soon as we start hearing people say things, and and then all of a sudden they're telling us who we are.
Yeah.
If I was born into a different family and a different culture, I would be a different personality.
Yeah. Yeah. No, again, very well said, beautifully said. Thank you for elaborating on that, because I think that's such a powerful thing, because most of my clients I deal with, they are looking for all this external validation, and they're not getting it, and it doesn't work out. And then they think they're nothing. And it just crushes you, right, when you see this. And so I love that you pointed that out. So thank you. Yeah. So you said choosing is the most powerful tool we have.
Yeah.
Talk about that. And because I think, AdaPia, I think we take this for granted, that we have this gift of choice.
Mm-hmm.
So again, I'm going to let you say it, but man, you're speaking my language, but tell us, why is it the most powerful gift that we have?
I mean, it's the simplicity of it. And
Yeah.
I think we tend to believe that complexity is the right thing, right?
Mhm.
More words, more complex concepts, more complexity.
Yeah.
That's the mind. But really at the level of our soul, things are very, very simple. And I believe one of the reasons why we have trouble with choice is because it comes with responsibility,
Yeah.
and it comes with self responsibility, and it comes with self accountability. And we're just not used to believing that we are that powerful. And we
Right.
are. We're used to operating under a paradigm that's driven by biologically mechanisms that are driven by fear. The neuroscience around it is fascinating, and I include a lot of science in my in the book too, because I'm not just going to get on board with a concept. Like, I want to really like understand it.
Yeah.
And it's been an important part of me going within and
Yeah.
understanding this. But essentially, like, we operate from a place of fear, and fear is the past. Fear is what we know, and the
Yeah.
brain wants to reduce uncertainty.
Yeah.
And if you will, choice offers uncertainty, which the brain doesn't like,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
It's like, wait a minute, but by choosing, I might choose something that is unknown to me,
Mm.
which feels unsafe. And so I'm going to default to what is safe, quote unquote safe,
Yeah.
known. um and yet choice is how we liberate ourselves from
Yeah.
everything.
Wow.
But it's hard because
Yeah.
it's like, and it's scary, and you feel it, you're like, oh my God, that's really scary. If I make that choice, I don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Wow. Yeah. I like to term, I love what you said. I think you said we go back to what's safe, or I like to say what's even comfortable. You
Yes.
know, a lot of people will choose to go back to the darkness just because it's comfortable. They know it's not good. They know it's ultimately intellectually they go, yeah, this is probably not the good, but I'm comfortable over here. It's kind of like when Marianne Williamson has the quote where she says, it's not the darkness that frightens us the most, it's the light.
Yep.
And it's interesting, but I'm glad you pointed that out. So
Yeah.
how have you used, I mean, I know you use that as part of your platform and the stuff that you teach. Do you find that people, are resistant to what you're saying there, or do you feel like that they kind of go with what you're saying?
um I think for the most part, so it's interesting with the book, and when I was able to come out of a dark period that resulted from that video, actually, that people resonate so much in a way that really surprises me,
Yeah.
actually. And they resonate. Now, of course, there might be people who don't, and they're not going to say anything, and that's okay. But I
Right.
think the world is so different, and it's ready, and people are ready to take back their lives.
Yeah.
And if you will, I think the pandemic gave us an opportunity to do that, and not to
For
dismiss
sure.
anyone's suffering, but there is there is an opportunity in front of us, and we've had it because we've been sitting with ourselves for this long, and there's an opportunity to say there has to be a better way. I can choose differently.
Yeah.
Right.
Wow, I love that. And you're right. The pandemic has been really tough for so many people, and lives have been lost, and our hearts go out to that. But I also feel too that this is can be our it can be our greatest moments, right? Because I think in the darkest times is when our light can shine the brightest. It's the old statement, the greater the darkness, the greater the light. And I'm seeing this even with some of my clients who they use the pandemic as, I'm gonna come out of this a stronger and better person.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was difficult, but yet, you know what? I'm gonna push forward in that direction.
Yeah. Yeah. And you touched on it too. It's all part and parcel of the discomfort, comfort, discomfort. I mean, that edge
Mm,
is where we grow. And I
yeah.
like to use metaphors. And even though it's a well-used metaphor, but the oak tree started as a seed inside a shell. Breaking through the shell of the seed for that plant, that's not a comfortable process. You are breaking something open.
Yeah.
Like you need to emerge. Like there's like that birth is not pleasant.
Right.
Like, you know,
Right.
and yet you are that tree, like you are like,
Yeah.
and in a way, the ego, and I believe it's Eckhart Tolle who said this, is the shell and the soul is the seed.
Mm, beautiful. Yeah.
And we have to break through the conditioning to me from that perspective. Like,
Yeah.
and that is really uncomfortable because we're breaking through what we've been told to do, who we've been told we
Yeah.
are, who we've been telling ourselves we are based on those external things. And so coming back into the internal validation, the question is always, who am I? What
Yeah.
do I desire?
Right.
And the reason we also don't go there is because there's a false narrative that says you're selfish if you honor yourself.
Yeah.
And that's a big one to unravel because
Yeah.
it's not selfish to take care of yourself
Right.
at all.
Yeah.
It's not selfish to stand up for your own values. We're you know, there's a lot of distortion around serving others, and often it's kind of flipped around somehow that you have to sacrifice yourself for others, when in reality, when you are so strong in yourself, that strength and that love of yourself, it overflows like an infinite well, and all you want to do is share
Right.
because you have so much. You can
Yeah.
only share what you have.
Yeah. Wow. Beautifully said. I love that. Speaking again on that internal validation, going back to that video that received so many views and
Mhm.
so many shares, talk about what happened there because, you got a lot of hate messages, a lot of, you called it the dark side attacked.
Yeah.
Talk about that because, man, that had to have been one of the most difficult things to go through. So would you explain to us what happened there and some of this stuff that you had to go through?
Sure. So, so the first, when I gave the original talk, it was a
Hmm.
20-minute talk, and I gave it in a 1,400 person theater for an event that was geared towards sharing vulnerable stories.
Right.
So I was in, if you will, a safe space because everybody in there was there to hear vulnerable stories. And
Sure.
it was an incredible experience because to get on stage and tell the story basically of
Yeah.
when I left that first marriage, and in telling that story, that even that whole process of going into that story and like telling it was already a big like moment for me to open up and
Yeah,
be vulnerable, and
for sure.
really to the way I live my life is I'm not going to blame anybody for anything. And so
Yeah.
I didn't go up there and air dirty laundry. I went up there and I said, I didn't honor myself. And fundamentally, I came to this point where I was unhappy, and I really had to honor that my happiness was important. And so, I left, and there was, like, there's morals to the story. It's a 20-minute talk, like compressing 9 years and
Right.
into that, and it was 7 years later. So anyways, there's a lot of like, it's very meta. Well, Goalcast found the video online, and Goalcast is a motivational video
Yeah.
company, and they do these beautiful little 3 to 5 minute clips with music and footage and what have you. And they said, we would like to make a video of your video. Um,
Yeah.
and they did. And the thing is that um, and I think at that time, because now I think they work more with celebrities, they would do it to try to do, we'll do a free video and then maybe we can do something. And look, like I was not set up for any of this. Like I didn't have like this business. I'm not a celebrity. I'm not used to exposure.
Right.
I'm not even like, that was the first time I ever even gave a keynote. And so
Wow.
when they published this video, I had no creative control over it. I didn't get to see it.
Oh, okay.
I didn't know when it was coming out, but I knew because I started getting hate mail. I started getting
Wow.
this, yeah. And so the video comes out and I'm telling you, I could feel it. I was like, something's going on. I can feel it.
Yeah.
And then my phone is blowing up, and sometimes I guess how it works, and I learned this, is that trolls can get your video. And if that happens, they just pile on.
Oh, wow.
And so that's what happened. And it,
Okay.
the 40 million views are mostly on Facebook, and it was like global, and it like tons and tons of shares. But I'm again, like I don't do that. I didn't do that for a living. So I didn't know what to do. And all these people telling me how horrible I was, how selfish I was. Like, it got to the point, this went on for like 3 months. People would
Wow.
just write the most horrible things. They sent death threats. Like, they were so upset. And you could see their conditioning. You could
Yeah.
see their pain. And I felt it. And I was like, I'm sorry you were hurt. I'm not the one who hurt you. And then there were
Yeah.
self-righteous people that
Wow.
were, whatever they had to say. Right.
Yeah.
Um, and I realized at a certain point, well, first of all, it gave me, it traumatized me.
Oh, for
Like,
sure.
it like literally traumatized me. I couldn't check my social media, not even my emails. Like, I would ask my husband to just delete things that
Yeah.
I didn't want to see. And so it hit me so hard because I'm very empathic. So it just really hit me hard, and
Yeah.
it just triggered a lot of, I still had shame in there. I still had some stuff in there that I hadn't
Yeah.
really fully worked through. And then there were also just these amazing messages, just people saying thank you, I thought I was the only one who felt this way. Thank you for
Yeah.
your courage. Thank you for speaking your truth. And
Yeah.
when I went over with Goalcast, because they had never experienced anything quite like that either, and it was
Really?
their best video, like, I think out the gate. I mean, it was just like one of their best performing videos, just
Wow.
outrageous, because of the like, there was like 100,000 comments. Like, people were just,
Wow.
it just sparked all this conversation, and I could feel into this pain body of brokenheartedness and
Yeah.
expectations of what a marriage is and what a promise
Yeah.
is. And there's so much there to
I'm
unpack.
sure.
But it took a while, and I refused to watch the video. I refused to go on social.
Wow. Well, you
I
were
wrote a
you were
blog
getting death
post.
threats too, right?
Oh my God. Yeah. I mean, I was like,
I mean, that blows my mind that
you
someone
know,
would go that far to say, "Hey, we're going to threaten this on you."
yeah,
You know?
yeah. And just like it was, I mean, I've never, like, I felt crucified. I'm gonna say
Yeah.
it that way. Like, I've never really said that out loud, but like, I felt like I was being crucified, and I felt like a victim.
Yeah.
I felt like a victim, and yet
Mhm.
I was very supported. I was really supported. I started, like, I reached out to people I knew, and what I started to see and learn was that a lot of people get trolled, and I was like, that's messed up.
Right. Yeah.
Well, why do people take such offense to other people sharing a story? And like, I really don't have the answer to that. I don't know, but I started to reach out to people, and they helped me. Like, I'm a very independent person, and I don't like to ask for help because I don't want to burden,
Right.
right? I think you don't want to burden people.
Yeah.
And I found so much support, and that really helped me to start to, like, get back on my feet about it, because I stopped. I had a podcast at the time. I had a blog. I
Yeah.
was like, I am never sharing anything again. Because
Yeah,
why would I do that?
didn't you even say I promised to yourself I'm never giving another talk. I'm done.
Never. I'm done. I will
Yeah.
never I'm never speaking publicly
And
again.
hearing what you went through, no one would blame you for saying that.
Yeah.
Wow. But that's not the case.
Nope.
So talk about, so you went from, you know what, I'm done, I'm never doing this again, which again, any one of us would understand that. How did you shift that? Because it was interesting to me as I was studying you and researching you, which is, you're amazing, by the way. Seriously, I just sit there and go, wow. You went from that to now you took the power back. I mean,
Mhm.
So talk about that transition. That to me is the apex of everything. I just love it.
Oh yeah. Well, first of all, thank you.
Oh, you bet.
I just feel like at some point, I'm gonna rise up. Like I don't know. Like at some point, I'm like, I'm over it. I'm so over feeling this way. I don't want to feel this way.
Right.
And so I think part of it was like reaching out for help. But the key moment, because it's not going to be anybody else that saves you, right? It had to be me.
Yeah.
And it came when I mustered up the courage to watch the video again.
Oh, really?
I mustered up the courage to watch the video, and intuitively I knew that I had to, because I felt such a strong resistance to doing it. So much discomfort. There was so much discomfort, and that's always a sign. Where there's discomfort, that is your portal to growth every time. That's where it is every time. The place you're most afraid to go is the place you need to go to break through. So I decided, okay, I'm gonna watch this video, and I did it by myself. I like took several breaths. I was like, I swear my finger was shaking to hit play. I
can visualize you right now. Like, oh no, do I hit it?
Did not. My eyes are, I did not want to.
Oh,
and my stomach was clenched, like my heart was closed, which is a sign, by the way, when our hearts are closed. Yeah. It's a sign. And so I hit play and I'm watching this video, and the video ends, and I remember feeling like, oh my God, that's a beautiful video. And I didn't do anything wrong. I didn't do anything wrong. And in that moment, because it's energetic, in that moment, I freed myself from whatever shame and fear that I had over myself, like little remnants of it. And I completely detached it. And I watched myself, and I saw myself in love and a form of forgiveness and compassion. And by doing that, I liberated myself from it. Wow. And I'll say this, that video has been reissued a few times over the past few years. I have never had another troll reach out to me ever since.
That's awesome. Boy, I love what you just said a minute ago. You said discomfort is the portal for growth. And again, like I can just picture you like, do I hit play? Do I watch this thing? But it's amazing. Had you not watched it, who knows what would have happened, right? Who knows, had you still been stuck in that guilt and shame and thinking you did something wrong and all of that. And what a beautiful thing that you experienced going through that, going, hey, that was an amazing talk. I just spoke my truth, and it was vulnerable and it was beautiful.
Yeah. And then understanding also too, like Goldcast showed me the statistics, because it's their video, it's not mine.
Yeah.
They were like, yeah, there's a lot of comments, but actually when you dig into them, there's a lot of people like sticking up for you. Cause I wouldn't even read the comments. Like I didn't want to go there. Yeah. And they showed me the statistics, and they said it was like 100-1 positive to negative.
Yeah.
But when I first started it, all I saw was the negative, because that was initially where it went. And so there's a perspective shift.
Yeah.
There's a moral there of a perspective shift. And when I started to shift my perspective to, well, first of all, there was data. So data helps.
Yeah, sure.
Like numbers help, to see that in numbers. And then to realize that I was receiving hundreds of messages of support and encouragement and thanks, and also pain for people who were suffering in their own sort of there. And like, but some of them took action, some of them, in their own way, and it gave them encouragement. And so, and I still receive messages from people where they're like, I saw your video and it really helped, and it was really encouraging. And those, so I started to focus more on that.
Okay.
Right. So I started to focus on those things and those people and those messages. And I started doing public speaking again, and I wrote my book. And so that, and it's just like, kind of like, F this. I'm sick of being miserable. Like, why am I letting you keep me down. But the you isn't them. The you is me letting them have that influence over me.
Ooh, say that again. That was beautiful. Say that
So,
again.
all right, I'm gonna see if I can, because
Okay, I
it's,
know.
yeah,
It was
no,
just
no,
flowing.
no, I know that's what happens if I, yeah. So basically it's like, it wasn't anybody else doing anything to me. I was choosing,
Yeah.
to focus on the negative, and to be in that space. So they don't exist out there.
Yeah.
I was doing it to myself,
Wow.
kind of by proxy.
Yeah. No, thank you.
That's all.
Beautifully said. And I wanted to make that a point because I want our listeners, I think most of us struggle with that. We think that all these people have power over us when in reality, it's our own thoughts about these people that are making me feel. So I have to just change, like you said, perspective, the way I'm thinking, the way I'm choosing to think. And that's what's cool. After you watched your video again, you started changing your perspective, but your thoughts started to change and you started feeling empowered again. And then
Yeah.
you started doing talks again. You wrote this awesome book,
Yeah.
and look what you're doing now. You talk about authority through authenticity became your new message.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about that and what that means exactly.
Yeah. So being being a business executive, and I've been working for a really long time in the investment industry and real estate. So there's a lot around leadership, and there's a
Yeah.
lot around this idea of authority, and the authority really ties into the external validation, right? We
Yeah.
think, and we're told that an institution is an authority, that organizations are authority, government are authority, all these things are authorities. Experts and gurus and everybody else knows better than we do, but no.
Right.
Sorry, no, only I know what's best for me.
Yeah.
That's the truth. Only I know what's best for me. And so we give our power away to external authority, because again, we're not wanting to embrace the power of choosing, of self-responsibility for what it means to make a different choice.
Yeah.
And so to me, authority through authenticity is being true to yourself, getting to know yourself. So I call it inner authority, right? That inner validation.
Yeah.
And you
Okay.
lead from there. You lead by being true to yourself. You
Love that.
lead by being genuine. You lead by being who you really are. And that's it. Like, you can only lead. Leadership has changed so much. Oh, I mean, it
Yeah.
was already changing before the pandemic, but it's been completely flipped over
Right.
since then, right? Like, it's not top down. Leadership is, I can only lead others as far as I'm willing to lead myself. How far into myself am I willing to go? Because the more I understand who I am, the more I realize, like, I can't tell anybody what to do. I'm not here to tell anybody what to do. Anything that I'm sharing is my experience. And I always say, like, take what resonates, take what serves you, leave the rest. Check in with yourself. Does what I say land for you? And if it doesn't, amazing, that's awesome, because it doesn't have to.
Yeah.
And so authority is, I am the only authority in my life. I'm
Yeah.
it.
Right.
And the more I get to know myself, and the more I honor myself, the more I hold myself in honor. And something about that is a form of really empowered self-love that then serves others, because I don't want to tell anybody who they should be, because I'm so
Yeah.
sure of who I am,
Right.
that the only thing I want people to know is that they're in charge. It's kind of like my 5-year-old comes out, right? This is
Yeah.
like, you're not the boss of me. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not the boss of you. I don't want, I'm like, don't tell me what to do. This is my
Yeah.
life. Like, that was me as a teenager,
Yeah.
and like an adult, but, 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 that's the truth. Like,
Yeah.
that's the power, that taking it back in and saying, I'm not afraid to be who I am. Like, in this world of, we're all so unique, and we're united
Yeah.
by our uniqueness. The only, like, we're all one,
I
and
love
yet
that.
our experience of life is unique. So what is that unique gift to me? Everyone's unique gift isn't a skill. It's your experience of life.
Yeah.
And that is a tapestry. You're a string in a tapestry. And without that, it wouldn't be the same.
Right.
And you have to exist as you. That's your gift. It's as simple as being who you are and honoring your experience and honoring and loving yourself. And the more you do that, you give permission to other people to do the same. And then they open up, and then you start to create these beautiful connections that you could never achieve before when you were trying to be who you thought they wanted you to be, or who you thought you should be, or how you should act,
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
So it's antithetical to the way the ego works
Right.
in the limbic system in our brain. It's
Yep.
antithetical. But if you kind of meditate on it or contemplate that, you'll feel intuitively at the level of your soul that
Wow.
that is who you are. That's why you're here.
Beautiful, man. That beautifully said. We're united by our uniqueness. That was beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. So, what are you doing nowadays? I mean, you've written this book, you're speaking. What are some things you're working on that you could share with us that we may not know about? And maybe maybe you don't want to share them yet. I don't know. But is there what's next for you?
Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, so
Yeah.
I'm sharing my book. I'm doing talks, so virtual and like
Yeah.
live. So I love speaking to like universities, like college, university,
Yeah.
like like as they start to get into their career, because I have this over 20-year career in
Yeah.
finance and investing. And so I've been, I love to share those stories and really like empower them.
Yeah.
I do have an online course coming out in the summer, and it's
Oh, cool.
based on the technique that I use to do my personal work. It's called Writing the Self. And you don't have to be a writer, but it is very much about uncovering our own narrative and taking our power back from our past.
Okay.
And so that's kind of this, like,
Awesome.
I've done a couple of workshops, but that's coming. And so, I'm
Very
just
cool.
I'm carrying on.
Yeah.
I just show up every day. I love what I do professionally, and I
Yeah.
love being able to give back. This to me is a giving back. And
Yeah.
it's that part of me that I was saying before. I'm just compelled. Like, I didn't choose it consciously. It comes from the heart.
Man, that was beautiful. Yeah, and you truly are giving back. I mean, I'm edified just sitting here listening to you. You have such a I don't know how to say it like in words. I'm not very good with my words all the time, but you're very like safe is the right word. Safe and comforting the way you speak and the way you present yourself.
Oh, thank you. No, you use the word. It's I love to hold space for
Yeah.
people. Yeah,
Yeah,
and
for
I've been
sure.
told I'm a safe space.
No doubt about it. I feel so comfortable with you and it's awesome. And if people want to reach out to you, AdaPia, and get to know you better,
Mhm.
get your book, find
Mhm.
out about this online course where they could sign up or be a part of it, what's the best way for them to do that?
The best way is to go to productiveintuition.com, and you
Okay.
can learn a little bit about me and the book. And if you throw your email in there, you'll get an ebook, and
Oh,
then
cool.
that'll put you in email contact with me, and then I share what I'm up to through email. And then, like I said before, my name is great because you can just plug it into Instagram and I come up, plug it
Absolutely.
into LinkedIn and I come
Yeah.
up. Like, you find me pretty easily. And so,
Yeah.
if
It's
anybody
beautiful.
wants to connect with me, please do. And just let me know how you found me. I get a lot of
Right.
connection requests, but let me know. And if, I make myself available. So when people have something they want to share, I'm
Yeah.
mostly on LinkedIn and Instagram.
Okay.
Those would be the best platforms to reach me.
Oh, beautiful. I'm going to ask you one more question, and it's kind of a big one, but I usually ask this with all my guests. If there's someone listening to you right now
Mhm.
who is maybe in a dark place and struggling, maybe kind of trapped by their shame and guilt, something that you've been through,
Mhm.
you've already given some amazing advice, but what's something right now, if someone's hearing your voice going, I'm struggling, what would you tell them right now?
I think right now, if you can, if it's safe for you to close your eyes and try to drop your mind into your heart
Mm,
just drop your mind into your heart and
Ooh.
what perspective does your heart give you, right? Like it's this idea of loving, of basically like when you drop your mind into your heart, you're accessing the seat of the soul. You're accessing that part that's beyond
Yeah.
the thinking brain. And so when you feel overwhelmed, like aside from, basic breathing techniques, but just breathe into your heart, see if you can drop your mind in there and feel it. Allow yourself to feel it. That's one of the big things. We don't want to feel that, because what we actually feel is love, and we don't think we deserve it. So breathe into that. And if there's resistance there, breathe into the resistance, and just that love is there. It's always been there. It's there for you. And it's not that even that you deserve it. It's so much beyond that.
Yeah.
But that's where I would go first and feel that for yourself, because you
Okay.
have it.
Yeah.
And it's yours. It's your right to have it.
Yeah, beautifully said. Drop your mind into your heart. I've never heard that before. And I was visualizing that going, wow, that's amazing. That's powerful. Well,
Yeah.
I'll tell you, Adapia, this has been wonderful for me to sit here with you today. Thank you so much for not only spending time with me, but just thank you for being a light in this world and making a difference. And I'm so glad that you hit play and rewatched your video because it almost seems like that's when things you're like, you know what, I'm going to go and share my story with the world and heal myself at the same time, but I'm going to help heal others. So thank you for being you.
Oh, thank you, Todd. Thanks so much for all your like wonderful reflections, and for you being a safe space for
Thank you.
me and the guests and the listeners, and the beautiful work that you're doing in the world. It's been such an honor. It's
Oh,
really
wow.
been just nourishing to have this conversation.
No, thank you so much. I mean, that felt like 5 minutes. We've been talking
No.
almost over an hour now. Thank you. Just beautiful. I encourage every listener listening to this right now, please reach out to Adapia. She's obviously an open book. She would love to help you if you have a question. Please get her book, Productive Intuition. You can go to productiveintuition.com. Please buy her book, help support her and get her message out there. If you have a family member who's struggling and they have a hard time having internal validation, get them this book. It's really going to help them a lot. And check out her online course that's coming out as well. And thank you for tuning in, guys. Please share this. And I love you guys. And AdaPia, Errico, you are amazing. Thank you for your time today.
Thank you, Todd.
All right. Till next time, everybody.